Hey guys, it's Herman here from Sounds, Minds, Magic, and welcome to one of the most incredible moving ink effects out there, created by our good friend Alan Rorrison. Now, I'm sure you've already heard his name before. He's created a lot of amazing effects, and he's also a consultant for a lot of top celebrity magicians. And Alan has joined forces with the Sounds, Minds Creative Lab to bring you what you're about to learn today. Now, first off, I want to thank you guys for picking up this project and supporting us here, because I know you guys are going to have lots of fun performing this effect, especially because of how impossible that visual is. Now, it feels very modern, feels very casual to perform. All you're doing is just drawing on the back of your phone, and then with a little bit of magic, you bring that drawing to life. You're manipulating that ink without even touching it. It looks very fair, looks very clean, and you can even hand the phone out for your spectator to just wipe away the rest of that drawing after the magical moment. In the explanation, we're going to go over everything you need in order to perform the effect. That includes how to prepare the gimmick, prep yourself so that you're always ready to perform, and also we'll go over some details to make you feel comfortable when you're performing the effect, and more importantly, get the reactions that you're looking for. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
This is my phone, right?
Yeah.
Just hold this for a sec. What's your name, by the way?
My name's Ali.
Ali. I want you to do me a favor.
Okay.
Think about something you like to do when you're about 5 years old. Okay? And keep it clean, though.
Okay.
All right? Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read your mind, okay? I'm going to draw this down. All right? It's not something about Barbies, right? Is it not? All right? Cool. All right. Are you thinking about flying a kite? It's okay. It's okay. You know what? I'll do something even better. If that wind blows it up, you can see it start to go up, right? It start to go up. It go up. I can erase it, right? I can erase it. Just like that. I can erase it, right? You can erase it. Anyway, just erase it.
So it's time to find out what the secret is to the effect. How do you manipulate the ink without even touching it? How do you bring life to this drawing that you apparently made on the spot? Well, let's first go over the gimmick. So I have set aside over here. Now, if we take a closer look, of course, this is actually IT. Now, you'll be provided with a lengthy amount, but right now I'm just using white thread for explanation purposes so you can see what's going on, okay? So when you perform this, it won't be, white cotton thread, which is what I'm using right now. So one end has tape on it. The other end has a piece of my drawing on it. Now in this case, the kite. This is what's going to be moving on my drawing. So this goes behind my ear, so no one sees this. And because it's IT, no one would be able to see this dangling as well. This would go in my pocket, and that would be kind of the reset position. But of course, the details will be gone over later on. Now, to actually talk about the execution of the effect and what the secret is behind that. So if I were to quickly talk about in terms of, let's say that everything is in its appropriate position. So we take a closer look at the phone. This is the ready position where I'm ready to perform the effect. Now, as you can see, this is supposed to be IT. It runs on top, and then around, and then to my ear. Now, to get in this position, again, we'll talk about it in the handling. However, everyone thinks this is all drawn with dry erase. However, we know that the kite is part of the gimmick. The rest is actually dry erase, which you can wipe off afterwards. But to actually execute the gimmick, you just create some distance between you and the phone, and the kite will move up, just like that. And up to about here, what you can do is apparently wipe away the dry erase, the kite. But what's gonna happen under the cover of wiping it, the kite is just gonna flip around and over the phone and behind your hand, so that this is completely examinable. You can just hand this phone out for them to make sure that everything's normal. They can wipe away and make sure, oh, it really is all just dry erase. And that is the secret of the effect. So to prepare your gimmick, you're going to need a few things. Now, along with the DVD, you'll be provided with IT. Now, in this case, I'm just using white cotton thread, so it's easier to see on camera. However, you'll be provided with IT that will work with your lighter colored backed phone, okay? So IT, a transparency sheet. Now, you'll be receiving more than this, but this is the cutout that I made beforehand because I don't need a drawing bigger than this. So, IT, transparency, both provided. What you'll need is also matte tape, double stick tape, a dry erase marker, permanent marker, super glue, and a pair of scissors. So once you have everything in front of you, you can just place them aside. So in this case, I'm just going to place everything aside for now, leaving me with the transparency That's the first thing I'm going to work with. And because it's so hard to see what's going on, I'm just going to place the transparency on top of a white sheet of paper. Okay? Now you can kind of see what's going on, especially when I draw something on it. Now what you're going to be drawing is depending on whatever your design you want to animate. Now in this case, I'm just going to keep it simple and draw a kite. Now you're using your permanent marker for this, okay? Now, in terms of picking your design though, it's best to pick something that allows you to shade in the middle a little bit, because your IT is going to go through the center. Now, this is about the right thickness, and of course, draw the middle portion just like that, and this portion just like that. Now to hide your IT, it's always best to just kind of make it a little bit thicker, and this is looking good so far, okay? So you can place the permanent marker away, and you can probably guess what's going to happen now. You're going to bring in your pair of scissors, and you're going to cut the design out, okay? And just like that. And you can place the rest away. Because you have the cutout of your drawing. Now if you need to round any corners to make it look a little more realistic, then I encourage you to do so. Just like that. And what's going to happen now is you're going to take your permanent marker again. And this is optional, but I do find it handy that you color in the edges as well. Just all the edges, just run it along. That way you don't risk any unwanted reflections. It's a very quick step. And just like that, you are left with this. Looks very nice, very clear, very bold. And what's going to happen now is you're going to attach your IT to this kite. Now in this case, again, I'm using white thread. Now in terms of how much IT you'll be using, this length right now that I'm using is from the tip of my finger all the way to my shoulder, okay? So if you extend your arm, you want it from the tip of your finger all the way to your shoulder, and that's the right amount that you want to use. So that's what I have right in front of me. And basically, it's going to run from here to there, okay? So the long end is facing the top of the kite, because that's the direction it's going to be flying. Now to get this secure, that's where your super glue comes in, okay? This is when you apply super glue along the straight line from here all the way down, and then you place your thread on top. Okay? Now in this case, I'm not going to do that because then you'd have to wait for it to dry for me to proceed to the next step. So let's pretend that I applied super glue. And the reason I'm using that is for that extra security, to make sure that the thread's not going to come off. However, here's an alternative thing. You can, if you have any magician's wax, you can actually attach magician wax instead. However, Jason and I do recommend that you use super glue just to make sure that it doesn't come off or anything like that. Now for that extra security, even though you've applied super glue, you're also going to bring that clear tape that you have aside, and you're going to need this big of a piece. You're actually going to need just thin enough to cover the line, okay? So you want to keep it thin. And even this is a little bit too thick. So I'm going to bring in my pair of scissors. And you want to basically match that line in the middle. If it's a little bit thicker, then that's okay too. And once you've trimmed the piece of tape, you're going to apply it along the edge. Now, since you applied super glue, it's best to use some gloves so you don't get any super glue on your fingers. However, once you've placed that piece of tape on top of your thread, what's going to happen is you're going to trim any excess tape that's showing. In this case, I seem to be all right now. And what's going to happen is, of course, you have this excess thread that you're going to chop off. And of course, because you placed some tape on top, it might be a little bit glossy. So what's going to happen is you're going to bring that Sharpie, that permanent marker again, and you're basically going to run it over that line. Okay? And in this case, I'm just going to color the white portion so you can see on camera what's happening. So you're filling in that area over the tape so it looks consistent. And what's going to happen now is you're going to wait for the super glue to dry. Now once the kite is pretty much done, you're going to apply double stick tape to the other end of the thread right over here, okay? So you're gonna take your double stick tape. And what I like to do is just wrap it around a little bit and fold it in half. And this goes behind my ear, okay? Now, depending on how long your thread is, maybe you have some extra room. Then when you're playing around with this effect, then you determine whether or not you want to wrap it a little more so that you have a shorter amount of distance between the phone and your ear. So this goes behind my ear, and this on the other end is the kite that you prepared. So once your super glue is dried, your gimmick is complete. Now, a quick little tip is that you can use the rest of your transparency to determine if that dry erase marker that you're using is the right thickness to match your kite. So if I were to draw something right now, this may feel like it's a little bit thin, or it's a slightly different color. So you'll try and match your drawing to that dry erase, or find a dry erase that's a little bit thicker. Now in this case, because I usually use the Sans Serif Sharpie, it's a little bit bolder, so it would match with my kite. But that's a quick little tip before you go out and perform, before you go out and practice. Just make sure that you're using a consistent marker so that there's no discrepancy between what you're drawing and also the gimmick that you've made. But that is it. Your gimmick is now complete. So guys, at this point you have your gimmick created and you're ready to rock and roll. You want to learn how to perform this effect. So first thing you'll need is a dry erase marker. Now in this case I have a Sans Serif Sharpie marker. It doesn't really matter what you're using as long as it's dry erase. However, I like using a Sans Serif Sharpie marker because it doesn't really matter what kind of marker you're using to draw on the phone. Your spectators usually don't really care. So when you have this on you, you have it in your right pocket, okay? Now as for your phone, now let's talk about the specifications of the phone that you'll be using. Now depending on what phone you're using, it is nicer to use a lighter colored phone. Now in this case, the silver one, so that there's a nice contrast when you draw on it and they can actually see the visual and see it move very clearly. Now if you're using a black case, for example, black ink on black case, who's going to see anything, right? Now when you're performing, you can also borrow a phone as well. However, what you need to look for is that there is a gloss on it. So what I mean by that is maybe there's a back protector on it, or maybe they're using a transparent case, because that's gonna be what allows the dry erase to easily come off afterwards, just like that, okay? So those are the only things you need to look out for, just a lighter color phone and also a transparent back protector or a transparent case. Now, if you don't have a transparent case or a transparent back protector, you can easily find them in your local electronics shop or just buy them online for a couple bucks, especially the back protector itself. All you gotta do is just stick it on and then you're ready to doodle on it as much as you like. Once you have that, you can just place that in your jacket pocket or your back pocket. It doesn't really matter. That's where your phone goes. Now, as for the gimmick itself, you already know from the secret section. In this case, I'm using just white thread for explanation purposes. The tape is going to go behind your ear, okay? Just right there so that no one can see it. And this is just chilling right over here. As for the kite or whatever drawing design that you're using to move, that goes into your left pocket. Now, we take a closer look at the kite itself. Where does it sit in my left pocket? Just right over here, just like that, okay? And as long as I don't, fiddle with my body too much or anything like that, it's not going to be moving anywhere. Now, depending on what you're wearing, now my pocket is on the side, kind of like this. If you're wearing jeans, maybe it will be on top like that. And if you're wearing tighter pants, now in this case I have looser pockets, so I don't need to worry about anything. However, if you do have tighter pants and you find it hard to retrieve the gimmick, what you can do is, an idea is using a thumb tip. If you have a thumb tip, all you have to do is just put it in your tight pocket, just like that, and it'll create this nice little gap right over here, just on the edge of your pocket, and then you can let your gimmick just sit in there so it's easy to retrieve. Now, since we are already on my pocket, I'll talk about the retrieval of the gimmick. Now, as you're looking for your Sharpie marker, both of your hands are going to pat yourself because you don't know apparently where the Sharpie is, but you know it's in your right pocket. Your left hand is going to go back like this and hook the thread so the gimmick pops out just like that, and it's going to be hidden behind your hand. Just like that, okay? So one more time, that's in my thumb tip. Now in this case, I actually don't need a thumb tip because I have very loose pockets. So I'll just leave that in there. But to show you one more time, I'm looking for my Sharpie marker, and then I hook the thread with my thumb, and it just pops out just like that. So now it's hidden behind my hand. Now, once everything is in the right place, your dry erase marker is in your right pocket, your gimmick is sitting in your left pocket, and also your phone is either in your right jacket pocket or your right back pocket, okay? Easy to retrieve with your right hand. So when you're ready to perform the effect, either as the last thing in your set or the first thing you want to perform, all you gotta do is just ask, oh, does anyone have a marker on them? And again, while you're patting, I went over this before, you grab your gimmick, and it's in your left hand, and then you grab out that dry erase marker. So you immediately hand this marker over to your spectator, so they're hanging onto it. Now while they're hanging, what you're gonna do next is you're going to shift the position of your gimmick in your left hand. Now from an exposed angle, this is your current position of your gimmick. It's looped around your thumb, just like that, hidden from your spectators. However, what you wanna get this kite into is clipped between your middle finger and your index finger. And you can either do that with one hand, you can just casually get it into this position, just like so. Or you can just bring your other hand and just casually kind of put it in position as no one is looking. But basically the position is clipped so that the opposite of the thread end is like so. And you can just relax your hand and be very natural with your gestures so it feels like you're not holding anything. Everything looks very clean right now. Now you can just keep it like so, because what you're going to do is you're going to load this gimmick underneath the phone. However, Jason and I find it easier when you have it clipped between your index finger and middle finger, just like that, okay? And of course, not looped around your thumb. Now all this is happening as you bring out your phone and begin your presentation. So when you bring out your phone, what's happening is you're having it so that the phone is facing to them, so the button's on the bottom right now. So I'm going to pass it over to my other hand, and I'm feeding the kite, the drawing, underneath the phone like so, okay? So now the thread, as you can see, should be running along the center right over here. So one more time, from here, you begin your presentation and you hand the phone over to your left hand. And now the gimmick is just sitting underneath, just like that, okay? And the thread again running from the top over here, okay? And what's gonna happen is you're gonna bring this over to your other hand as you're still talking to your spectator, so that now your right hand is pinching on to the kite just right over here. Okay, still running along the same middle of the phone, just like that, but you're basically transferring it over to your other hand, covering the drawing with your two fingers right over here, because what's going to happen now is while you're still talking to your spectators, I know this feels like there's a lot of moves, however, what's going to happen is you're going to casually allow the index finger and middle finger to relax, and the thread is going to go between the two fingers like that as you are rotating the phone around, completely around just like that, okay? That's a little hard to do slow, but this would be the position that you're in. So let me run through that one more time so it's easier to see. Left hand is going to relax and it's going to allow the thread to run between your index finger and middle finger just like that. Your phone is going to flip around and you don't need to worry about flashing because your two fingers are covering the drawing just like that. And of course, this is all IT. And then you're going to catch it with your left hand just like that. So you're in this position where the drawing is running over between your index finger and middle finger and then down just like that to your ear. So from the front, this is what it looks like. You've just retrieved your gimmick, so it's in your left hand like so. You've given them the dry erase marker, and as you're handing it over to them, you're going to casually push this over so that's easy to clip between your index finger and your middle finger. And of course, no attention is towards your hand anyways. Now, when you're ready to perform the effect, all you gotta do is bring out your phone and you say, hey, let me show you something really interesting about my phone. Now, what I actually like doing is getting a little bit creative and actually creating my own back design. Why I do that is because it feels more livelier that way, more authentic. Let me show you what I mean. Can you uncap the marker for me? And I'm already in the ready position. All I did was just have these fingers pointing down, flipped it around as I'm asking for them to uncap the marker, or just whatever offbeat that you want to create so that you can just casually flip the phone around just like that, as if you're ready to draw on the back. Now to quickly go over having the thread between your index finger and middle finger, I know it may be tricky for you, especially since you can't see the thread. So just make sure there's enough tension between you and what you're clipping onto right now. And you're just going to, your hand's going to come over just like that, and you're going to try and feel for the thread while there's still that tension. You're going to feel for it with your index finger, and then when you feel like it hits between your middle finger and your index finger, that's when you know it's okay to flip that phone right around, still pinching onto the drawing, and then bringing it over to your left hand, okay? Just like that. And then you're in the ready position. Now your index finger is just going to sit on top. So in terms of the positioning of your fingers right now, it's kind of like a mechanic's grip with a deck of cards. So your index finger is on top, just to make sure that the thread is straight, okay? Now in this case, I'm just tilting for the camera, but make sure the thread is straight. And then the rest of your fingers are resting on the side, just like that. And your thumb is on the side just like that. Now the reason you have it like so is because it's easy for you to display the drawing after you've doodled the rest with dry erase marker. So as I mentioned before, no attention is on your hands as you are doing the moves to go into the get ready position. All it looks like is you're just passing your phone around as you're talking to your spectator, and then finally you're asking to encap the dry erase marker so that you can draw on the back of the phone. Now in terms of your presentation, you can use the same one that I was using, getting creative with your back design, because it feels like, it's more authentic, feels more lively that way. And let me show you what I mean, and then you draw something. Or what Jason likes to do is he kind of does like a mind reading effect. He says, hey, just think about something that you liked to do when you were younger and have that image in your head. And then he draws something and then he shows it and he says, were you flying a kite? Well, if it hits, it's awesome. If it doesn't really matter. He'll just say, oh no, let me actually show you something else then. Here, with a little bit of magic, and then he animates that drawing. So it becomes a different effect. So it depends on what your presentation style is. Just develop a script or presentation that works best for you. Basically, while you're talking to the spectators, you get into this position and you're ready to draw with the dry erase marker. So what you're drawing with it, if we take a closer look, from the front, they can't see that the gimmick is already in place. They can't see what you're drawing. But if I show you from an exposed angle, this is what's happening. The kite is just sitting right over here, and you're gonna draw whatever is interacting with it. So in this case, I'm gonna draw a stick figure, just like that, holding something that allows the kite to be sitting on, and then maybe something like the ground, and then this is my ready position. Okay? And then if you find that the kite's not in the right position, let's say it's like somewhere around here, then you can just quickly reposition it so it looks like the guy is holding onto the kite. When you're ready to perform the effect, so from the front, you can't see what you're drawing, and then you say, all right, take a look at my drawing. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? And when you're showing it, this is such a lovely display right now because everyone in the front can see what's going on. It looks like it's all drawn with the same marker. And what's going to happen is you're going to say, oh, let's actually do something really cool with this drawing. Let's see if we can interact with it. See, if I draw a little bit of, wind, you'll see that the kite begins to pick up. So when that happens and you're ready to perform, all you have to do is create some distance between the phone and your ear, because that tension is going to allow the thread to just go up just like that. Now, in terms of the position of your finger on top, you got to make sure that the thread is actually running straight up just like that, because if it's slanted, then it may fly that way, which may not be what you want depending on your drawing. So you want to make sure that the thread is going up and down just like that. Okay, and your index finger on top is keeping it in place, and then you're going to create some distance. So as you see, there's going to be some tension, and it's going to pull the kite up very slowly, just like that. So I'm basically leaning away, or I'm bringing the phone away from myself and up to about here. Now right now the audience is in absolute disbelief, but before it actually flies away, what you're gonna do is your hand's gonna come over as cover as you're apparently gonna wipe away the dry erase, okay? And as I mentioned in the secret section, what's gonna happen is in the cover of your hand, wiping it away, you're going to continue the action of pulling the kite around. And basically it flips over the phone, so that's in this position. Because remember that it's in between your index finger and your middle finger, so right now it's behind those two fingers. So from behind my hand, it looks like this, okay? But I can be very casual with it. It's just sitting there, and my hands are covering the kite. So I can immediately hand this out. Just make sure that your fingers are closed, still relaxed, and your hand's gonna come over and you're gonna pass the phone over to your spectator so that they can wipe away the rest of the drawing. Now, while we're on my hands right now, I just wanna go through a quick tip. You actually don't wanna perform this in a windy environment, because otherwise, you can probably already guess, the IT would pick up and it'll move your drawing around. So make sure that you're performing in an environment where there's not a strong draft or it's windy. Now, a second thing that you want to watch out for is that you actually want to tilt the phone back a little bit, just like that, so that everyone can still see it. But if you tilt forward too much, as you can see, it'll just be floating away from your phone, which is not what you want. You want it to look like it's been drawn on your phone. So to keep it that way, just tilt back a little bit so that it stays in place, so that when you're actually ready to have the kite move, you just slowly bringing it up, increasing that distance, and then finally, you just come over and you just wipe it away and it's gone. And you can immediately hand that over. Now let's talk about the cleanup. Right now you're in this position where you just handed your phone over. Now, in the action of recapping your Sharpie, okay, you're gonna bring the Sharpie to your other hand, or your other hand can come together just like that, as long as the palm is facing towards your audience. You won't be flashing the gimmick. Now, even if you flash a little bit, no attention is on your hand anyways, because it just looks like your hands coming together. You're gonna be capping the Sharpie, and then both of your hands are gonna go into their sides pockets. So this is gonna go back into my right pocket, this is gonna go into my left pocket. So both hands are going together into their pockets, just like that, very casually. And just like that, you've reset so that you can perform it immediately again. So that is it. That is the handling of the effect. Again, what's beautiful about this is how you're absolutely reset now. All you gotta do is take your phone back, and if you wanna perform it again, you can. Now, as with all effects, be sure that you do put in the practice so that you feel comfortable when you're, clipping the piece and then just feeding under the phone and then flipping it around so it's in this ready position. Now, if you're a little bit new to magic and this is one of your first projects that you've ever picked up, then it may feel a little bit overwhelming at first because there's so many things for you to do. But rest assured that practice makes perfect, as the saying goes. So when you do put in the practice, it'll feel like things are just happening without you even thinking about it. So be sure that you do put in the practice, and practice it in front of a mirror too, so you know your angles and you know that, you're not flashing too much, even though again, there should be no attention to you, getting into the get ready position anyways. But I hope you have lots of fun with this effect, especially when you're practicing this in front of a mirror and you're just watching a drawing come to life. It feels very magical, very rewarding, and I know you guys are gonna get amazing reactions when you go out and perform this effect. All right, guys, that is it. We have gone through everything you need to know in order to perform this incredible moving ink effect. Again, from my good friend and creative mind of Alan Rorrison. Now, if you feel like we've missed out anything, or you've got some further questions about the effect, whether it's the handling or just being comfortable when you're performing the effect, then feel free to send us over a message and we will be more than happy to help. As usual, we've got some amazing stuff coming out from Sans Mind, so be sure to stay tuned to us, either on our mailing list or our social media, and you're just gonna love what we have in store for you guys. Again, my name is Herman. I'll see you guys next time.